Do I get to be seen? You are now streaming. Okay, we are now here with Savage Tim. Tim, we have played a lot of games and since we've last joined everybody to talk. And
Yes,
what
indeed.
what's it been like, man? What's this ride been like for the last month for you?
It's been pretty exciting, actually. We've had a couple of really good events come up. We were both involved in Extra Life, which is an organization that collects funds to pay spent on juvenile cancer research and treatment. And as a result, every November they get together with a group of online gamers, tabletop gamers, role-playing gamers, video gamers, and pledge to play 24 hours worth of games. So that was one of the things we did. We were up at Collector's Inn in Kenmore, and we were able to put together our team ourselves. My goal was I had originally set my goal to be about $200, and I wound up raising over 300, which is fantastic.
Mostly
Over
from, if I remember right, it was mostly from climbing checks.
well, not mostly, but the climbing chicks did were a big part of it. But our team made about $2,800 donations, and overall, the final totals are still outstanding from Extra Life. But so far, they've raised over $7 million.
That's absolutely incredible. And again, remind them what does this fund go toward?
So it goes towards juvenile cancer research and treatment. So they help different organizations pay for juvenile cancer research, including our own Buffalo Women's and Children's hospitals in Buffalo that do a lot of good work in our community. We've done some stuff for them in the past as part of the Buffalo Gamer Society. We've raised money for them for the um, not Extra Life. The why am I drawing a blank suddenly? Oh, the Penny Arcade one. Oh my God, this is terrible radio right now.
That's why we edit.
This is what editing's for. Um, what is it called? I can't remember now. Why am I drawing a blank? Child's Play. Oh, I knew Play was in there somewhere. Child's Play. So we raised some money for them for Child's Play as part of QCC and as part of the Buffalo Gamer Society. Um, and it was our effort to kind of just show that we're more than just weird people sitting in the basements pretending to be dwarfs. We actually care about our community. We care about the people involved with it, and we want to contribute a little bit. So it was a really great cause, and what we wanted doing is, of course, being Savage Tim, I had to run some Savage Worlds. So I
Some
want
Savage Worlds, Tim.
some Savage Worlds. We ran the Evernight campaign, which is the first Pinnacle campaign setting that they had put out for Savage Worlds. We played it from beginning to end, judiciously edited because you really can't do the whole thing, and some of it is a little long in the tooth at this point. But we did wind up playing. We had 5 people that played through the entire session from the beginning to the end. No fatalities, which makes me sad. Um, but we did wind up raising a lot of money at the table. And like I said, one of the things we did was that we allowed players to buy bennies. So for every dollar you spent, you could spend it just like a penny. We wound up, I figured, maybe people would bring in 10, $20. And a couple of our players showed up with wads of $50 bills.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it all went to the good cause. It all went to the pot, and we wound up with a nice little bit to show for our work. So it was great. So thanks to Mark for putting all this work together, our buddy Mark Napick, and thanks to Joe Laverick at the Collector's Inn for helping us organize it and giving us the free run of the place all night long. They were really very supportive. They were very friendly, very helpful. And thanks to all my players that came out, it was really a great time.
So, what did you expect when you saw the group of players that you sat down? Did you expect things to go the way they did? Did you expect the group to gel the way they did? What was the surprises as far as group dynamics that you saw as a GM?
I think it worked really well. I mean, it was a number of people that have played together before that I've played with a couple of different times. They're all knew the game very well. Most of them are involved with actually all of them are involved with the monthly Savage Sunday events that we've been running out at Dragon Snack. And they knew each other and they knew each other's kind of foibles. And I think that worked really well too, is that learning each other's we weren't learning each other's quirks. We were already familiar, already comfortable with each other. So they were able to play off each other very well. So there was a lot of great role playing that happened as a result.
I thought it was a lot of fun for me because I've game mastered for almost all of them before, but
Mhm.
I don't think for many of them I sat down as a player at a table with them. So I
Right.
thought that was a really fun opportunity for me, at least, to get to do that, and for them to see what kind of role player I am, which I think I kind of surprised them a little bit at some times.
Hmm.
But
Well, as surprising as a little 9-year-old thief could possibly be, you know, armed with a black powder pistol. I mean,
they never said no.
well, no, they didn't. Well, it's just like, well, you gave the 9-year-old a pistol. She has shooting. Well, that's all right then.
So what would you have done differently with how you handled the campaign? What things
I
did you
think,
learn that you would have tweaked different?
I think it ran pretty much the way that I wanted it to go. We took a lot of frequent breaks. It wasn't constantly going through. We took the time to kind of relax and socialize a little bit, and take short rests. And early in the morning, went out and got breakfast, which I thought was a great idea.
Yeah.
That was really cool. Um, we kept it light. We didn't want to make it. I didn't want to make it a slog. I didn't want to make it feel like you weren't making any kind of progress. I think that by the buying the anything was unanticipated, but it was a lot of fun. It was
Mm-hmm.
really fun to do, and it did make things a little bit less challenging. So I was kind of okay with it. My initial concept was that the idea was we were going to do it as a sudden death style, where if your character died, then you were out. You would be eliminated from the session. And the reason why I had done that is I anticipated that we would probably not have players who would be able to stay for the whole session. And they would have some people who maybe could do 10, 12 hours and then would tap out, or wouldn't, didn't have, just wouldn't be able to make the whole thing, or had to work in the morning. They were only there for the afternoon or something. And that would give them an out. They could, suicide their character and then move on, and that would and then somebody else could step in and take their space. Um, and it wound up not working that way. So some of it has to do with the scenario. Some of it it's not nearly as tough. Some of it just had to do with luck. Some of it to do with the fact that you guys spent $100 on bennies. So
I remember, I forget, was it Mike who walked in saying, "Here's $100. I'm immortal now."
it was 50.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Mike was the one who had a wad of 50s fresh from the bank. He had $50 in singles. So he came and just dropped on tables like, I'm immortal. That's it. I'm like, okay, but it was
And
a lot of fun. I
and
think that worked.
I was talking to him at Savage Sunday about this, and it's like he was dropping it frequently, and I told him even spending it on me and other players. And it's like, I like to fail every now and then. I like to
Hmm.
see what Tim does when I don't make the jump, or when
Hmm.
I don't persuade the Lord successfully and I botch
Hmm.
something. I like to see the direction the story goes in that, and the buying out you don't need to. I thought you don't need to go as frequent with that because it's not all as lethal life and death on
Right.
that. What's your
Yeah.
thoughts on that kind of thing?
Yeah, I can see that. I think that having the scarcity of bennies, which is one of the advantages of Savage Worlds, is that there's only so many different ways you can get them. You can control the game master can set the tone and pace of the game by controlling how many bennies are earned and distributed. So exactly like I said, is that you may need to make that decision. It's like, well, I've only got two bennies left. I know there's probably going to be a fight coming. I know I'm probably going to have to soak. I'll have to eat the failure I just rolled and deal with it because of reasons, because I know that those other things coming up. And there's a bit of a metagaming aspect to that, but at the same time, um, it. I think you're right. I think sometimes failure can be more interesting than success, and having that sense of scarcity of that resource is one of the things that's going to give you that function, that feature. So I think that was. But on the other hand, is that because Evernight was designed as a fantasy setting, and it was supposed to be kind of heroic fantasy,
Mm-hmm.
um, it felt really heroic. It felt really felt larger than life, and I think that worked really well. I don't think it would work so well if I was doing something a little darker, but I think it worked very well for what I wanted with Evernight. So
I thought it was amazingly dark. It was. I had the feeling that we were playing Dungeons Dragons up through the orcs and the mountains and stuff, and then
Right.
the tower and everything drops. It suddenly felt like you dropped Prometheus and aliens right in the middle of everything, to where it was we were all scrambling to figure out what it was because it just felt as dark as those movies and as
And
alien as
that's
those
sort of the
movies.
point, yeah. Or like I was explaining to people, it's that the beginning part of it, it's your standard everyday run of the mill Dungeons and Dragons style role playing game, and then the Tyranids attack. And that's how it goes. So spoilers for a now 13-year-old role playing game, but in any case, um, but yeah, so yeah, I mean, it did kind of feel dark, but at the same time, you still were the characters were still heroic. The
Mm-hmm.
characters were still able to do larger than life activities, and they're able to do things that they wouldn't normally have done. And again, it the more you spent, the more advantages you got, and the more money we raised for the charities. So that I think worked really well.
And my last question on Evernight. What did you learn about yourself as a Savage GM from this experience of running a nearly 24-hour straight game?
I learned that I probably don't want to do it again until next year. No, I was actually I took on myself I took it on as a challenge. I didn't anticipate being able to pull it off. Um, I didn't think, and this is coming from this is kind of a private note is that for one I didn't think that people would be that interested. And two, I didn't think I would physically be able to pull it off. I'm, not as young as I used to be. It has been a long time since I spent 24 hours playing a role playing game of any type. It's probably been 25, 30 years since I've done that sort of thing. So, it's probably been about 20, 25 years since I've done that sort of thing. And when I was a young fella with no responsibilities and no job, we used to do exactly that. We'd stay up till wee hours in the morning, uh, playing around and being goofy, whatever, until you could hear the birds chirping outside, and that's when you knew it was late time to go to bed. Um, it's been a long since I did that, and I didn't know if I still had it in me to do it anymore. And I think it was fairly successful.
Mm-hmm. There's those times you could tell you definitely needed to go out into the cold night air and just stretch your legs and
Hmm.
get some fresh air. But when you got back, man, you were juved and ready to go again.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think it's definitely the key is taking lots and lots of frequent breaks. Keep an eye on the energy level of your group. Make sure that everybody's still involved, everybody's still engaged, everybody still has a good amount of energy to go, and don't overload anybody.
And that brings us to Savage Sunday. So,
Mhm.
how did Savage Sunday go here, and how's the program going as far as how you thought it would grow and progress?
I've been very happy with it so far. We had a couple of real strong months, and now I think we've kind of gotten down to a more regular count. I think that November and December, I know, are going to be tough draws. Being in
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo, well, first of all, it's going to be you're in the holiday season, and there were several people I know that weren't able to attend that wanted to attend because of other plans. They were going to be out of town. They had family events and so forth. Next month, it's also going to coincide with the Christmas weekend. So we're going to be in the same boat. There's going to be people who will be off out of town. They'll be traveling for family and so on and so forth. So it's going to be a little bit tricky this month and next month. But I think after that, I think we're going to see, um, I think we'll probably see attendance go back up again. Um, I think we'll probably see, and more tables come in. I'm hoping that we'll see more night games happen. The more people interested in going for longer periods. I've had a couple of different people I had a couple of more people ask about campaign play, about doing something more regular. So we're definitely looking for people who'd be interested in helping us out with that. And as long as the weather holds up, being Buffalo, um, I think that we'll even see more people come out. We've been averaging about 3 games in the afternoons, 3 to 4 games depending, which is pretty good for the space. The space itself it fits that is about the maximum you could actually do there, and then the night games have been 1 or 2 at a time. So, but I do think it's been I don't think it's been good enough that we will be continuing it.
I remember when you first start talking about this, a lot of the goal was to develop more Savage GMs to be a
Right.
training ground for them. How has that part gone?
I've been seeing a couple of new faces come out. Some people who have been trying to take on a couple of challenges of things they haven't done before. I know this past month, Mark Napick ran Rippers for the first time, which is he's familiar with the game setting and he's familiar with the system, but he never actually tried running it before. So it was new for him. And so good on you, Mark, for giving it a shot. I hope you had a great time with it too. And we had a few other people that have come out over the course of the past month. Michael Beck has done a couple games for us as well. So he's another one that I haven't seen around recently. And John, what was John's last name? There's a bunch of Johns, which is blowing my mind. John Henshaw came out with his buddy and his dad, and he run up running Agents of Oblivion for us, which I was really excited to see Agents at the table because it's one of the settings that not many people know about,
Yeah,
and it's really well done. So, thanks John for coming out and running that for us. That sounded like it was
definitely.
a
That was a
real
lot of
blast
fun to play,
too.
John.
hmm And so, and then we've had some people that have been just our regular stalwarts, like Mike Sprague coming out from Rochester every month. He drives out that lunatic to come out and to be silly and play games and do whatever do whatever we do. So I think I think it's been a really good turnout. I think I've been very happy with it. Last month in October, we haven't recorded anything since Halloween, have we?
Not since the Queen City wrap up, really.
Okay. Yeah. So because last month we had Tom Lutz and Jerry Meyer came out and ran games too.
Hmm.
So that was awesome because they had never run games for us before. So it was always good seeing them come out. So it worked really, really, really well. I definitely want to try getting more people involved. I'd like to see more if game masters are interested in playing or they're interested in learning more about Savage Worlds, or they want to just talk about the craft and the art of game mastering. Remember that the event starts at 1, but the store opens at noon. So we could always get together early, grab some lunch, sit down and chat for a little bit before we actually go to the store, which is always an option too. Or we can take a short break in the between and have a quick powwow about how things are going, what's up with the industry, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's definitely an area for it. I do want to bring in more. I do want to bring in more promotional stuff. I do want to do more month-to-month promotion ideas of different things we do each month to kind of encourage people to come to the store and to shop a little bit. Um, we're offering the Benny the Benny promotion plus the Golden Bennies, which have been pretty popular.
Yeah.
My understanding, people seem to be okay with it.
Buy one of those deluxe
Mhm.
Explorer editions and get yourself a Benny.
Exactly. So, and a Golden Benny, no less.
Yeah.
So,
So tell me about your campaign, man. It's so epic, so beautiful, and I'm a player in it, and I supported the Kickstarter. And I before I even you announced you were going to run it, I've read the thing, so I'm trying to go without meta knowledge going through this thing, and the historic amazingness of this. So how is Stone in a hard place for you?
well, considering we're already off book, and we've already kind of broken what the plot point campaign is supposed to do. It's going to be interesting to see how things go. I've got a few things up my sleeve that I'm not going to talk about. But for those of you who are listening or wondering what Garrett's talking about, is that during the Savage Sunday event at night, I'm running the Stone in the Hard Place the Stone in the Hard Place plot point campaign, which is recently released from Pinnacle. And in it involves the group of players being involved in and about the politics and the uh, occurrences around Tombstone, Arizona, and the fate of the Earps and Doc Holliday and the Clantons and all those sorts of people and the Cowboy Gang and what happens to them in the Deadlands universe. And already things have changed as far as Deadlands is concerned. Already the history is different than what we know about, which of course is one of the big points of Deadlands. Is it's our history, but it's not really our history. It's something different. So
Which was really
far,
fun when I caught where you were changing things. I was like, "Ooh, Tim's gonna tell us a news story."
yes, we kind of have to because the players involved aren't easily led.
And I think there's a lot more role playing. I think than Matthew intended for it,
There
for
is.
in the at this stage at least in the campaign.
There is, and I really, that's one of the things I really enjoy. It's kind of it's one of my secret pleasures in game mastering is when I know that the group is feeling good, is when I can sit back and watch them interact with each other in character, in talking about the story and how things are going and what's going on, and I don't have to interject anything. They're playing off each other. They're telling the story to each other, and I'm just observing. We had that great moment where Corey was talking to people, talking to the rest of the group about what he thought was going on, and he was fairly close to the truth,
Mm-hmm.
almost creepily close to the truth. But he's played Deadlands before, so he's familiar with some of the history, and so he knows how the universe itself works. But I thought he picked a good character that would know some of that history, and that would be able to explain some of it to other players, because not everybody has that level of knowledge of the history just yet. So I'm really liking that. I think that's great.
And however, when you saw the initial group on there, what did you have any pre expectations? Were you tweaking things already in your head to account for the group, or were you just gonna take it as it was and see how it came? What was your approach when you saw your roster?
Hmm. Well, the first session it came off pretty much as written. It was fairly close to the as outlined in the plot point. Um, so, and that's typical for the first night. I find when you're running a plot point campaign, as I always say, um, I've heard some people say before that they don't like running pre-written stuff because they don't want to follow a script. It's like, well, a script is not a movie. A script is just a script.
Mm-hmm.
A script is an outline for what's expected to happen or the order in which things are going to happen and some idea about what your dialogue is going to be like. It's not written in stone. It could change while you're performing it, while you're putting it out in front of an audience. And that's the same thing that happens with a role-playing game is that, yeah, we're following a book, but if the players are making decisions and choices that aren't covered, you have to adjust to those and see what kind of ramifications still can have. The great thing about Stone is that Stone in the Hard Place is that there's enough for me to hang player decisions off of. So I can say stuff like, well, okay, if you're not going to go to this encounter, but instead you're going to redirect to this encounter, I know that someone else has to deal with that. So let's see how they handle it. And that might change things.
Hmm.
Or, hey, they had a really lucky card draw in that first round of combat and they took out one of the big bad guys. What happens after? Well, if he's not there, then here's the things that get affected. Or here's the things that could change. Or here's the fact that you still have to draw cards to see if somebody becomes harrowed if they have enough points of grit. I wonder what could happen.
Hmm. Very cool.
Yeah. So I that's one of the things I love about a good group is when they're invested in the characters and they're invested in the world and they are comfortable enough with each other and are comfortable enough with the setting that they can talk amongst themselves. You've got something, and you know that it's just a matter of following where they're leading and kind of directing it and shaping how the future events are going to occur.
Very cool. And so Pinnacle had its one of its fewer sales going on. Did you pick up on anything? Because I'm sure
No,
that your library is pretty full as it is.
it was kind of tough because it was a lot of got it, need it, got it, need it, got it. And also it's that time of the year. It's because it's holiday season. I'm really not allowed to buy things for myself because you never know what Santa might bring me.
Mm.
So I have to kind of behave. There was a lot of really good sales on even some of the older stuff, and some great stuff that was well worth for people to pick up. Unfortunately, I believe that's over now. I want to say no. Oh, actually, no. It's on until December 15th, so there's still time to get involved if depending on when this goes up. So like some of the stuff I saw that I was like, if I were a new player and I would totally jump on some of these sales. They're putting together a couple of GM bundles where you can put together a
Yes.
package of the setting book, core book, various accessories for one price, and they're giving you a discount on that. Some of the older stuff you can pick up that's really cool. Pirates of the Spanish Main. If you don't have a copy of Pirates of the Spanish Main, I highly recommend picking it up. They've got good deals on that. Solomon Kane. Solomon Kane's one of the most beautiful books they've ever done. It's a great setting. It's got some really great scenarios in it. Totally worth picking up. The stuff in there you can use for any kind of horror game. You can use it to run. You can use the stuff for Rippers. You can use it for any historical horror scenario. I've always wanted to run it for. I've always wanted to use the Solomon Kane rules to run Ravenloft, which I think would be a great fit for it. You can get some discount stuff on Hell on Earth Reloaded. There's all sorts of cool stuff that's on sale. Like I said, the stuff is available up until the 15th. So you can get up to anywhere from, I think, 10 to 50% off some stuff. So it's well worth checking out.
Yeah. I was really admiring your punch-outs for Shaken and for wounds that you had, and the condition tokens that you had, and saw that they had those up there.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, come on.
Yeah, those I picked up from them at their booth at Gen Con this past year. And I really like them. I really like them a lot. They're little punch-out cardboard tokens, and they have marked on them the different statistics. So your wound markers, your shaken markers, your different environmental effects, and so forth.
Cool. And the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is the thing that I've been thinking about constantly for the last week. Mystery Science Theater 3000. Pinnacle's, I got the word from them saying that they are also big fans of MST3K and are giving me permission to release a fan publication of The Beginning of the End, which was the Peter Graves episode with giant grasshoppers. Because when I read this, I was like, this could use so many of the Savage Worlds rules in here that I just could not imagine not doing a Savage Worlds version of it.
Absolutely. So what else are you going to be? What else do you have in mind? Because I know you're doing different scenarios for every level.
For every $1 million that they do, I am doing a different module.
Okay.
And the three that we've unlocked thus far, we have. Did I put the logo up on the screen? Nope, logo doesn't go up on the screen. The ones that the first one is, of course, Manos, The Hands of Fate. Gonna do that as a classic fantasy Dungeons and Dragons Pathfinder style scenario, and I think that could be a lot of fun. Done that. Okay. Going to do Space Mutiny, the one with Biff McLarge Huge.
Biff McLarge Huge.
And do that in the style of a fantasy classic dungeon crawl, because it is just a dungeon crawl in space, and I thought it would be fun to try to do that. And finally, for the third one, I've decided to do The Beginning of the End. And when I was thinking about watching that at like 4:30 in the morning, because I have to get up at 4:30 to go to work, and I had a day off, and me and the wife got up at that time, and we're like, well, we're not going to sleep. So we watched The Beginning of the End, and I was like, okay, this is Savage Worlds. This is just so savage, I have to run it this way. So that's kind of what we're doing. The announcements that I just released today on the video releases that I've been doing with the thing, we're going to do for the Savage Worlds Beginning of the End. And if they get up to $4 million, not only will they get another adventure, which I have absolutely no idea yet what it's going to be, even if they do get the $4 million, which I believe they will, we're going to do a 1920s classic-style Call of Cthulhu adventure, which I probably also will do for Realms of Cthulhu, because it's just so perfect there for sanity checks being made.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of where we're at on there.
Nice.
So what's your thoughts on Mystery Science Theater? What's your experience with Mystery Science Theater? What's the story with you, man?
What's the story with me? I was a big MST fan from way back when in the day. It was really popular among me and my group of friends when I was just starting out in college. I remember distinctly that I heard about the show. Ooh, excuse me. Give me a second. I'm recovering from bronchitis, so I still have this weird dry cough thing going on. Yeah, but we used to watch it religiously. Every Friday night we'd find somebody's dorm room to go hang out in and watch MST. I remember the very first episode I saw, and still my favorite episode of all time, was Pod People. The
Yes.
one with the fake ET guy running around thinking, Trumpy, you can do stupid things.
Trophy.
Oh, little baby potatoes. Oh, and it was the show for me. Like
Mm-hmm.
Joel always said, it's we make these jokes for the right. Who's going to get these jokes? The right kind of people are going to get these jokes, and I was that right kind of person. And I got every joke, and I would laugh my head off, and I still do. I still love it. I spent most of my Thanksgiving this year watching MST episodes because they redid the
Yes.
Turkey Day Marathon. I've seen dozens of episodes. I can't claim to have seen every episode, and oddly enough, I have never seen Manos. Manos is the one that I know of, but I've never been able to see the whole way through, um, which makes me extraordinarily sad.
We'll do Manos sometime this winter, Tim.
Okay,
We'll do it.
we'll have to definitely do that.
Yes.
Um, but and also the big Godzilla fan too. So when they was doing Godzilla movies, it was like I was all over it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I loved it. I loved Joel. I loved Mike. I watched every episode I could get my hands on. I frequently go back and revisit my favorite episodes over and over again. Now it's so easy to find those nowadays that it's like, oh yes, I'm so excited. And now the news for the Kickstarter has been also so exciting too. I love the cast they put together for it.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody in it, I'm a big fan of, and I just can't wait. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see these shows. This is going to be awesome.
And the big question that everybody's going after here, and it's very negative, but I want to ask you it anyhow. Can you capture the magic again? Can that chemistry, that formula of writing and performing, be recaptured, or was that just one in a billion chance of happening?
Um, I don't think it's a question of recapturing it really. I think it's going to be uh, I guess recapturing is not the word I already use. We have to rekindle the style. Um, if you've paid attention to how the internet has changed how communication works, how people talk to one another, is that we are always constantly riffing on each other's comments and concerns and statements of ridiculous things um, frequently. And I mean, that's all that Twitter is. All Twitter is being able to do quick, short jokes, quick, short bits of humor on ridiculous things that you find online. So I think that today's audience is going to really react to that. Is going to react to it very well. I think that some of the older jokes don't age particularly well, or some of the older references don't age particularly well. So a newer
Mm-hmm.
audience, if you just show them like the old episodes, it's not as interesting.
Hair Club
But
100 and Martha Mitchell jokes just aren't selling with the kids today.
yeah, exactly. It's just not gonna. There's no hair club for men anymore. So those sort of things don't really quite gel. But at the same time, if you get a different crowd and you get some younger writers who are going to be more involved with the current zeitgeist of the internet, you're going to get more references that they're going to get, and I think it's going to be even more popular.
Definitely. And what do you think is the link between gamers and Misties? Is it that as big of a crossover as I think there is? Is it just a
Oh
small
yeah,
part of the Venn diagram? Because it sounds like the same exact demographic to me.
it is. I mean, you're talking about people who are well read, who have consumed a lot of media, who historically have not received very good representation in the media. So we watch a lot of bad movies. Which, by the way, if you've never seen Riff Trax' version of Hawk the Slayer, you got to. It
Hmm.
is one of the funniest things ever. They did Hawk the Slayer and they did just completely tore it apart. It was fantastic. But that sort of thing is exactly the sort of stuff that geeks like. They like the weird, obscure, bizarre movies. The stuff that other people wouldn't watch or wouldn't make a lot of sense or wouldn't be very popular. So it's definitely something that I think appeals to a lot of gamers.
So, what's your take on my insanity project here?
I
Am
think
I
it's
am I making any difference at all at anything? Am I just amusing myself doing this? Is this motivational at all, or is this something that people want to see?
I want to
What's
see
your
it. I
thought?
don't care what anybody else says. I think it's a great way to motivate yourself. It's a great way to set yourself a goal. And a goal that I think is very achievable. I mean, I know you and I know the way you work. I know the kind of stuff you can produce. And so having that amount of things to target for, I think it's something that's very achievable. I definitely think it's something that people will be interested in seeing. The right people are going to be interested in seeing. I mean, again, you are still talking about a small section of a Venn diagram
Mm-hmm.
of people who are going to be interested in this scenario because you're looking at, you need to look for Savage Worlds game masters who like MST. It's not a huge number, but it's pretty significant, I would expect. So I think you're going to see a lot of interest in it.
Definitely, and I mean, just from Gen Con alone has been very, very excited about the
Mm-hmm.
announcements on things, and so now was gonna go back and do like tons of D&D at their standard D&D for there, but now I'm thinking the demand might be out there for me to do tons of MST3K D&D.
Exactly.
What's your thought on doing D&D, the Misty movies, as a D&D adventures? Do they stand up alone? Stand up on it? Is there enough to work with there? Are people just going to enjoy the references, or have you appreciated the stories enough
Mm-hmm.
that you think that these are well selected movies and selected stories to be fleshed out enough to be a module?
I would think so. I think that, like I said, I can't speak to Manus because that's the one I haven't seen. I do agree with you that some of the classic like 50s style horror movies, like the beginning of the end, do fit better in with something like Savage Worlds that's a bit more multi-genre, that you can set it in different time periods and have it still follow the same basic plot and the same idea, but give them enough flexibility to play in that that scenario and do different options. D&D, the problem with D&D is that it's fantasy, and there's only so many fantasy stories you can tell. And so, that's not to knock fantasy. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but it does limit you a little bit as far as comparing that to what sort of stories you can create and make in that order.
Cool.
So,
And finally, what are we looking at, Tim, as far as the holidays, as far as Savage Worlds? What are the headlines? What do we need to be aware of as gamers, game masters, as we're going into the holidays with what Pinnacle is releasing and what we should be running and looking at?
well, like I said, I mean, the big news right now is the holiday sale. I think that's something that it was a great opportunity to pick up some toys, pick up some books that maybe you didn't get before, or buy a present for your ever loving game master who maybe doesn't have all the things underneath the tree that he should. Um, Usually, this time of the year for most companies, you're going to see releases kind of slow down a little bit, but there's still a couple of cool releases that came out just in October from Pinnacle. Rippers is now available. The new Rippers Resurrected books.
Mm-hmm.
Those are available currently in PDF. We're going to be seeing hard copy of those coming out in the future. Um, I started reading that this week, and that's really good. It's a sequel to the previous Rippers book, and it follows on from the previous plot point setting or the previous plot point campaign, and it's really well done. There's some really clever ideas in there.
Excellent.
So that's definitely worth checking out. I know that some of the other licensees are putting out more product. Grammel is going to be putting out a new setting called Tropicana, which is set in South America. It's detectives and spies and gamblers and mercenaries in hot, sweltery jungle islands, and it's like, ooh, that sounds like
Hmm.
fun.
The
So
Rum
it's a modern
Diaries.
day. Yeah, it's like a modern day. It's like a modern day crime noir sort of feel to it, so I'm looking forward to checking that out too. But then, we're going to be seeing some other stuff coming up locally. We're going to be doing another Savage Sunday. We're going to be doing one right after Christmas. It's going to be on the 27th this month.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be Savage Boxing Day because it happens after Christmas. So we're going to get together and we're going to probably do some Christmas type gaming. I know that Mike Sprague's talked about running at least one Christmas scenario. I may run a second one, and we're going to be putting out the invites to see if there's going to be game masters interested in joining us for that as well.
I'm working on a Shan Fan Christmas special
A Shan Fan Christmas special?
for Deadlands Noir.
Nice. I like it. That'd be good too because, the idea I had for a Savage Boxing Day was that everybody's boxing. So we'll have a setting rule on everybody's table where everybody knows kung fu. Just
Yes.
every single character, you have the martial arts edge.
I love it.
Just give it to everybody. Everybody's got the martial arts edge, so everybody can punch for free. There's no unarmed defender. Everybody's punch does a strength plus D4 damage. Everybody knows kung fu.
So that's a challenge also for everybody also running your own Savage events in December. Make that
Mhm.
your goal. Everybody knows Kung Fu.
Yep.
Thank you, Tim, for joining us, and I can't wait to show you Manos and also to join you for the Boxing Day Savage Worlds game.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it.